Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, divas out there. Welcome back to the Divas That Care Network. My name is Candace Gish, and I'm the host of this program. I am so excited about today's show, guys. I hope that you are going to love it as much as I am. And for any of you that have just tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in to us. We are on a bunch of women out there. We have 10 programs now on the Divas That Care Network, and we have the great opportunity to interview these women from around the world. So I hope that you check them out there on our website. And if you see our hashtag, it is called Divas That Care. So as I said, welcome to our show and welcome to today's program. I have Miss Carmel Kemp on our show. And my goodness, you guys are going to love her. I had the opportunity to watch a YouTube video from a TEDx Talks. And I was blown away, to be honest. I thought it was so amazing. And I always get excited when I have the opportunity to see our guests live and what they're doing out there. And I know on today's program, she's going to share a little bit of what she does out there. So let's get started. Carmel, welcome to the show. Welcome to Divas That Care.
Oh, thank you so much, Candace. I'm just absolutely thrilled and incredibly grateful to be here and to share this time and space with you and the listeners, of course.
Well, I'm so excited too. And you know what? If you don't mind, because I know that you're brand new to our program and we're going to be welcoming you to our Diva family, could you spend a few minutes just telling us who you are?
Sure, absolutely, my pleasure. So those fun titles that we all search and seek for, but really who I am and what I do is a spiritual teacher, mystic, and medicine woman / shaman for people that are unfamiliar with that type of language. And so I've spent really the last 4 to 5 years immersing in my own spiritual journey and coming to a place where I have been guided to share what I have learned through my own healing and through the amazing gifts that I have unearthed and, that the universe has granted me to offer that healing to other people. And so I do that in a couple of different ways. I do some, the one-on-one coaching, group workshops, using different types of modalities. And then I do work in the plant medicine realm with the beautiful plant medicines, ayahuasca and San Pedro, which were a big and huge part of my healing. Because my growing up years and my childhood was what we would probably say a little unpleasant, and I had a lot of baggage to clear and heal and release. And I never ever thought that was something that I would ever be able to do. To be quite honest with you, I was in a very, very sort of dark and dismal place most of my life, and so this past 4 years has been absolutely magical. And all of those nights that I would lay awake and go, there has to be more than this, I finally found it. It's more than this. And so I found my more than, and I just really want to share as much of that as I can with people, because it's really about liberating the human spirit. And that's a magical thing.
Oh, I love it. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you how you found these modalities? Because that's going to be, I always find it interesting because everybody finds it a little bit differently. But how did you find it?
Well, to be honest, they usually say that some sort of trauma or, big event, life change really spurs this on. And I've always been incredibly intuitive, but I just buried it under the carpet because I really didn't know what to do with it. And I was never really supported in a way that would have nurtured and nourished that. So I just ignored it. But it was just something that I always knew. But really what it was is that my 16-year relationship ended. And about 6 months before that, I started to see spirits. And which didn't bother me. I always got it. I understood that. It was comfortable for me. But, having to sell a house and do the separation and whatnot, I sort of buried it under the carpet again for about another 6 months. And then I was absolutely miserable, probably the most miserable I've been in my life. And I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I found myself being introduced to another healer And I did some work with her, and she did some energy work with me. And about 2 days later, I was a completely different person, and I kept on going and going. And as I did that and started saying yes, I also had the question of how, because I get it. Like, I get it, but how? How is this possible? Like, how? Because the only way we really know is through experience. And so I had this huge shift in experience in my outlook on life and where that was going. And so what I did is I immersed myself in program after program, course after course, learning and trying to understand how to open and develop my own gifts. Because as I said yes, the more the intuitive, psychic, if you want, gifts started to develop. But the one thing that I really knew that had to come first or come alongside that was that I had to get out of that negative thought, emotion loop, because I referred to that as the dark place my whole life, and I was in it constantly. I was constantly creating scenarios and stories, and it was just a miserable dwelling place. And so a lot of these, learnings and teachings, I started to travel around the world, learning from masters in India. I went into the jungle and started working with shamans, and they helped me get to a place where I literally did some trial and error and came up with a system that worked for me. And over the course of about 3 weeks, I increasingly noticed that I was no longer in that dark place, or I wasn't in there as long and pulling myself out. And it's eventually gotten to a place where I really rarely go in there. And when I do, I just laugh at myself. So, and then quite honestly, the other aspects of it really began to unfold, because as we clear out that negative energy and emotion, we become closer to who we are as love. We become closer to who we are really as divine consciousness. And so as soon as we can heal those things and gain a little bit of distance away from who we think we are as the body and the mind, we have a bigger understanding, and the perceptions of that start to come in a bigger and deeper way.
Wow. I'm listening to you. I'm like, wow. You can see just just listening to you, I can see how you can really help people through this experience, letting go of things, because a lot of the times we don't know how to let go of stuff. We keep it so close to us that it feels like it will always be a part of us, and you're showing us a different way. And a lot of our listeners might not know exactly the things that you are doing, but I always think that sometimes if we look outside the box, we find things that are really the things that we need. I have a question. I know that you are from British Columbia, and we do have listeners from around the world. Do you do workshops, like online, or is this something that you just do workshops close to home?
No, I do workshops online. So I will offer group workshops, or even, again, the one-on-one work, with Zoom online programs. There's anything possible, which is really great, because it allows that wider reach. And so I do different workshops throughout the year on various different subjects that people are interested in. The in-person workshops I do are specifically, we do a little bit more healing, although I do and can do remote healing sessions, energy sessions with people that could possibly live in Europe, because everything is energy, and vibration and intention carries out and moves in that direction.
Oh, I think that's absolutely brilliant. And, I know that there's a lot of amazing individuals like yourself that are doing this. And I really know that in the world that's what's happening. There's that spiritual awakening happening with a lot of individuals. And I like that you're saying that we could do things online. I think that having this online community is so important, because you really get to meet like-minded individuals so that you can do things like this. Do you do a lot of retreats or anything like that where people can come together?
I am in the process of putting something together, hopefully for the fall, but it will be by the end of this year. And that could very well be something that we do here. BC is very, very beautiful. Or I'm toying with and haven't come to a conclusion about doing a destination that would be quite interesting. And of course, my first love is always Peru. So I may be putting something together to take a group to Peru and do some interesting work and to do some deep healing and opening and accessing, because a lot of people, while they're very, very interested in healing, they're a part of that is healing so that we can expand. Sorry, I have a puppy.
No problem.
Healing so that we can expand and connect to really all that we are. One person, we're endowed differently physically. Somebody may be able to run a 5-minute mile, bench press, and the other person not. But we are all energetically and spiritually endowed the same way. And so it's really about accessing and clearing out the minutia or BS in many ways, and clearing that out into being able to access that. And once you can, your own intuition, your communication with source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, is there, and it's just there, and it becomes very, very accessible.
Wow. Are you going to be doing any upcoming speaking engagements that our listeners could perhaps go and attend?
I am not at the moment. Again, we're sort of in the dog days of summer here. I'm working on getting onto a speaking platform in the fall, but that has not been confirmed yet. So I'm always looking for speaking, because I find that it's a really good avenue to reach a lot of people in a different way.
Yes.
And in person, there's that in-person aspect that is, there's always, that energy in the room, because we all contribute to that. And what, some people may not understand is that when you do this work, when you do this healing work, it's not just isolated to you. That vibration does go out, and it heals your family, it heals relatives, and can heal friends in many, many different ways.
I just think that's so beautiful. I really love how you're explaining it to our listeners today, because it's when you are healed, you're definitely healing the people around you. So I want to dive into your amazing website here. You offer a lot of different programs, and I want you, if you don't mind, spending a little bit of time on each one, because I think that once I post this on our social media links, our listeners they'll understand what it's all about and dive right in.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hello.
There you go. Yeah. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about your website, that would be great.
Sure. So, as we all say, websites are dated or undated, but so one of the things that is sort of really near and dear to my heart is the hijacking happiness sort of portion, and that is going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about getting out of that negative mind loop. And this is really where I discovered a process in how to be able to do that. And it's really quite simple, and I'll give you guys the tips right now. You can do this while you're walking. You don't have to make space to sit down and get into a meditation. And typically, we all know when we become triggered, right? We know that when something triggers us. Something happens to us physiologically, emotionally, and mentally. And the first thing that typically happens is that we stop breathing. We either we stop breathing entirely for a few seconds, or we start to breathe in a very shallow way in the upper chest alone. And that kind of does a couple of things, in that there's actually 175 neurons in your brain whose sole responsibility it is to monitor your breath. And when we're only breathing shallow, it sends out more chemical responses, which says, hey, we're stressed out. And so one of the first things to do is to breathe deeply and take those 3 big deep breaths to try to stop that cycle. And another thing that most people don't really understand is that when we say that we react to something that we've been triggered by, those chemical responses only last for 4 to 7 seconds. So what happens is that if we get into the storyline within that 4 to 7 seconds where we create the next thought, which creates the next emotion. And so this is what we call when we create our own suffering, because we are creating that. So the first thing to do is breathe. And then what we do is that we count to 6, because now that we're in that space and we've stopped that cycle, we are actually in a position where there's nothing happening in the body, no physical, chemical things. We can actually make a clear decision. And really, at the end of the day, choice is freedom. And so in this place where we don't deal with any of the physical reactions in the body, you can decide where to put your attention. Do you want to put it back into the negative storyline, or do you want to choose to do something different? And Pema Chodron talks about this a lot, but she never really told us how to do it, was to how do we choose to do something different? So when we take that breath and we count to 6, now we can understand the power of our choice and make that decision. So it's breathe, count to 6. So that's BC. I call it BCR. Breathe, count to 6, and then radiate and focus on something positive, loving, and beautiful. And there's something around you everywhere. It could be a favorite color. It could be a flower. It could be a baby. It could be a trees, parks. It's anything. And it is a law of the universe that where your attention goes, energy flows. So by default, if you can focus on something more positive, loving, and beautiful, the other goes away. And so you might find yourself back in that place again in 10 minutes, and that's okay. The first thing to do is to not beat yourself up for it and make a game out of it and literally wash, rinse, and repeat. Breathe, count to 6, and put your energy and focus on something more positive, loving, and beautiful. And so that's really why I designed that online program, which I just actually converted also to an ebook that I'm going to be putting out shortly. So,
I think it's great.
I spent a lot of, yeah. You know when I was
thinking too, while you were talking there, I'm like, what a great thing for us as the divas out there, listening and learning about this, that we could teach this to our children and helping them through this process. And I'm like, wow, because you think of all the things that they're going through right now, and these simple steps would help them too.
100%. And, this is so key, and and I'm a huge proponent about meditation, even if it's 10 for 15 minutes a day. And this thought emotion loop, and I call it looping, is really a part of the conditioning that we grow up with. And I'm not one that's into any conspiracy theory, because our parents did their best, and their parents and their parents and their parents. But all of these things have been handed down that get into sort of this conditioned response kind of modality, where we think that things are happening to us rather than us being in the experience and making those choices along the way. And, it's, I say this in my talk, you do not always have a choice about what happens out there, but you do have a choice about how you respond within. And we experience everything within. Our 5 physical senses gives us the illusion that everything is separate from us. And so what I do is that if it's easier, if I'm in front of a person, I'll ask them, point to where you're seeing me, and they'll most often point directly to me, which is what most people will do. But then I will say, no, that's not right. And then I will explain to them, and we all know how this works, but we forget. Because I am a physical body that is dense and vibrating low, which is why it manifests on this planet. Light is hitting me, and it is bouncing back into your eyes. So you are actually seeing and experiencing me within yourself. And so you're hearing me and experiencing me within yourself. So all of the 5 senses that actually give us the illusion of separation are actually giving us the experiences within. and it's
Oh, I
about how
love
to
it.
manage and navigate. And so,
Yeah.
with kids, it's perfect. I mean, because we all know the same stories. We probably the same demographic and grew up the same way. But and I find it very different, a little bit different, especially in these days. But we grow up distrusting at such a young age, and it's not by intention, but it's we see adults that are saying this is the right way to do things, and then we see another adult over there doing something completely different. And we get confused. Okay, well, wait a minute. My mom said that we're supposed to do it this way, but there's an adult over there that is doing it that way. And that causes a little bit of a distrust within the child that is now kind of navigating, because children are very, very perceptive, and they actually learn what they see and they hear. So, to give children the tools to understand what they're feeling and thinking, they don't have to feel and think those things. By using just those tips, which are super easy to do, and kids would be great at it, because their attention is, it's beautiful watching them. When their attention is on something, it's on that. We should watch kids more often, because they actually know how to be now. They know how to be present now, without worrying about yesterday, or worrying about what's for dinner later, or what's going to happen at kindergarten or at recess the next day. They're just now, and that's where we need to be. And that happens by doing those processes of breathing, counting, really understanding the power of your choice, and also energy, because energy is everything and it's everywhere, and it can be transformed and transmuted. I like to say that energy is your most powerful currency. We just don't watch the deposits and withdrawals. And so it's about watching that and really understanding the power of your choice. Because choice is freedom. And it's about choosing to be in this moment right now. And we can't do that if we are constantly in that negative thought and emotion loop, like I was for so long, because I was constantly always, that was terrible, and it would just cause me to go into a very dark and negative space. And then I would dream up scenarios that didn't happen, or I would elaborate on past scenarios, and I would be constantly worried about something happening in the future, and I was never being able to actually experience now. And when you can do that and make your choices now, and then the next now, and the next now, and the next now, there's an incredible amount of peace and freedom in that.
Oh my goodness, girl, I've had a blast today. You really help us understand things that we might not have understood in the past, and I think that's really important. It's another way to think about things, and I hope you and I had talked about this before the show, but I hope that you come back on the show, because I think that we can dive into a lot more with what you're doing and how you can help our amazing divas out there.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Candace.
Well, thank you. And I want you to tell our listeners your website so that they could perhaps go on your website. And I know that you have a free download there, so that could be a little gift to them for checking it out.
Yes, please. Yes, absolutely. So, the website is my name, carmelkemp.com. That's CARM as in Michael, ELLE. KEM as in Michael again, and P for Papa.com. And yes, please, the Inspiration Stone download is a guided journey and meditation that is yours for the taking. And it's a really cool little journey where I take you to meet one of your winged spirit animals and get into the center of the earth with some really, really, really interesting ground energy and an initial connection with the spirit animal. So it's I like it. I've heard some great feedback about it, so I hope that that you all enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much. We're really excited. I actually signed up and I downloaded that today, so I hope that all of our listeners do that too. Well, again, thank you so much, Carmel. I'm just very excited that you took the time today to be on our program. I'm very grateful, and I can't wait for you to come back on.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our amazing listeners. It's because of you that we've continued to do this program now for 9 years. And we have so many amazing divas that we've had the opportunity to interview over the years. So please check them out on our diva site at divasthatcare.com. I will be posting this program along with all of Carmel's information on all of our social media links today. So make sure that you check them out and that you send it on to your friends and family. She's an amazing woman, and I think that everybody needs to get to know her. So make sure you do that. I hope everyone has a fantastic afternoon and evening, and make sure that you do something kind for somebody out there. Take care until next time. Bye-bye, everybody.